Bishop Brown Robinson, the Executive Director of Central City Renaissance Alliance. So on behalf of our members, I thank you. On behalf of our board members, I thank you for coming out. And if our board members could just wave your hand so that people know who you are. And we also have our past board member, Pastor P. I can't think of his left, but thanks to him for his services to SRA. And we have community partners on this event, and we definitely want to acknowledge other organizations within Central City who agreed to be a part of this candidates forum and to lend their support in getting the word out about it. We want to thank our Shea Cultural Arts Center. We want to thank EJB, Neighbors United, the Central City Partnership, Harmony Neighborhood Development, and Home First Neighborhood Association. Really, thank you for lending your support to the event. In terms of why we thought it was so important tonight, we heard from a lot of residents in the neighborhood and in our district that there were some candidates whom they didn't know. And so we thought this was a key opportunity to be able to meet the candidates and to be able to hear from them. We heard about some of the issues that were important to folks. And in Central City, people really want investment in our children. People really want investment in our main streets. And we want some of the projects that have been promised to, start getting underway. We want investment in community safety. And we want to put people and local businesses to work and to support those who create quality, affordable housing in the neighborhood. So those are things that we heard very important. So we're really interested in hearing what the candidates have to say about that. So with that, I'm going to move out of the way and introduce our moderator for the evening. And he will introduce the candidates first for City Council, District B, and then finally after that for District B. It's a distinct honor to introduce to you this evening Jarvis Berry, who is a well-known poet for our concert youth. He is actually a well-known poet. Some of you may not know that, but he is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist for his columns as a part of the team at the concert youth. So we're really grateful to Jarvis for agreeing to be our moderator for this evening. And so without anything more, welcome Jarvis Berry.
Thank you, Keisha, for that introduction, and thank you all for being here this evening. As Ms. Sutton has told you previously, you know there is a much more watched political event going on tonight, and you all probably know you can get to it. So we're going to respect your time and be as efficient and quick as we can be. We're going to begin with our City Council District B candidates. In alphabetical order, there are LaToya Cantrell, Kaplan, Strachan. If the three come up and have a seat, we can get started. Thank you all. And you can be seated and we will get started. And I will just go from Ms. Cantrell on to my left. Will you tell the people gathered here today, since you'll be legislate for this position? What's the first thing on your agenda? What's the first thing we do if we elect? And this question applies to each of you.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, all of the partnering organizations that has made this possible for us tonight. My name is LaToya Cantrell. I am a candidate, as you know, for City Council District B. And the first thing that I would do if elected to the office would be to digest in its entirety that budget and making sure that the budget is totally aligned with the needs of the community in terms of constituent services, which is very important. We'll deal with quality of life issues that is essential to education, crime reduction, economic development, and job creation, health care, as well as mental health care. It's very important. Housing, relative to blight eradication, as well as occupied properties as well. Cleaning up the district is important. And so with that, I would look to totally integrate the 311 system that is in operations now in the administration, but ensure that the district offices are able to not only track, monitor, and hold the administration accountable to getting results on the ground that we definitely need approach and address within our district as well as Central City.
Thank you, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you. My name is Eric Strachan, and the first thing I would do if I were to be elected to this office is sit down with Commander Barty of the 6th District and immediately begin a dialogue on what steps we can take to make this area safer. Because with crime out of control the way it is, people don't feel safe walking to the store, people don't feel safe driving around, and until we get this crisis under control, our quality of life is not going to make people want to live here. So I want to sit down with Barty to see what more resources he needs, what additional help he needs to get more police presence on the street. A couple of things that I've been thinking about is maybe a program to attract officers that are living outside of the city to move back into New Orleans right now. Through we have a Saw Second program in place. Maybe we can offer an additional incentive to get officers back on the street, because if you see a cop cruiser parked on the block, you're about 1,000 times less likely to commit a crime there. Beyond that, we all know that we can't arrest our way out of crime, so I want to immediately get more resources to some of our programs that are excellent programs that are in place right now to make sure that they can touch as many children as they have the capacity for. One is youth empowerment program just over here on Reed Castle Haley, but there are many, many great programs out there that we need to make sure are fully resourced so that we can start to address this problem. Because until we address the root of the crime, which is poverty and lack of opportunity, then we'll never fix the crime problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaplan.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here tonight with you all, and of course, thank you to the host organizations for bringing us together. My name is Kaplan, and I am a candidate for City Council District B. I'm also right now the executive director of a nonprofit organization called the Juvenile Justice Project of Louisiana, which is located on Reed Castle Haley Boulevard, right next to the Youth Empowerment Project, which is actually an organization that grew out of ours. So I love hearing that other candidates support that work. The first thing that I would do if I was elected to City Council is, of course, go back to the community to get further direction. And I'll say that I've been out door knocking and canvassing and talking to voters over the last few months, both to get on the ballot. We got on the ballot with over 1,000 registered signatures of voters from across District B qualifying by petition, because for me it was very, very important to run for council with that grassroots support. But I've since been talking to voters and hearing what their biggest issues are. And it's the same issues that also made me decide to run for council. It's crime, violence, it's the lack of opportunities for our young people in New Orleans, and it's jobs and economic development. I know as a director of JJPL, I decided that I would consider running for office violence problem, if we didn't take seriously the next generation of our children in terms of recreation, youth employment, vocational training, we weren't going to get the type of New Orleans that we deserve. And I ran for office, or I'm running for office because of that. I'm hearing that message on the doors every single day, and it's affirming to me that this is the right thing to do. So if elected to office, the first thing that I would do is pull together community leaders, such as many of you all in this room, neighborhood organizations in District B, many of the people who have been working on the problems that plague our city, and talk about both what my recommendations are, the policy platforms that I have to offer, but also hear again from the community what are the biggest concerns and what is the path that they'd like to see forward. Because a council member is the community members, or is the community's direct and most direct line into City Hall, and I'm running for office to play that role. So thank you.
And Mr. Horton, same question. The first thing you would do if elected.
Okay, listen. I would say they have a lot of problems. I mean, I can sit up here and yap about all the problems. The first thing I would do is first get with the youth. We have to put our youth in the same circle that we're in, okay? Me running for this position has opened my experience to just an unlimited amount of things, resources and all. And I feel like as I was coming up, I wasn't given this chance, right? And I believe if we put our youth in the same circle that I'm in now, that Eric, Dana, and LaToya is in, I believe we can have hope for a better city, okay? I went out, we got 3,000 kids, young men and women to sign up to vote. And what we noticed is a lot of them was like, well, it's not going to make a difference if I vote or not. And I'm like, it will make a difference. And we had to explain to them why, okay? And I don't want them to just be excited because Obama is the first black president, right? I want them to be excited because you have a better future and we're working on your future, okay? So after I get with the current council member board and find out where we at this point, then I will get in touch with the youth because the youth is the leaders for the long. So that's what I do.
Okay. Now we're going to have questions from community and the partnering organizations here, starting with Ms. Carol Bell from Ashe Cultural Arts Center.
We've learned that the absence of war does not give us peace, and the absence of problems do not give us a good community. And so I really like each of you to tell us a little bit about what you'd like our community to be like. We're going to be answering a lot of questions about specific problems, but we have to have a vision that kind of drives us. And so if you could each talk to us a little bit about how you see District B in its glory, before we begin to talk about what's wrong with it.
Well, let me tell you, I'm glad to say that I have a restaurant.
Can we limit you to a minute?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I have a restaurant at 739 Jackson, and I deal with diversity every day. Black, white, black. I mean, just about everything. And I believe that's what our community needs. I mean, some people say, well, you have the whites moving in and taking over. Well, I'm not a firm believer in that. I just believe they're just making the community better, right? And I believe that we need to merge everybody. You need to know your neighbor. You need to know your cousin's neighbor. And I believe bringing everybody together instead of, I don't want to meet once a quarter, okay? Let's meet once a month, right? I'm in the St. Thomas and we have meetings like every other month or every 3 months. Well, let's not do that. Let's try and do it every quarter. And also I want to, every month, but I say quarter because I'd rather all the communities, all the organizations meet once a quarter. So don't just let Coliseum meet just with Coliseum. That quarter they need to meet with the Irish Channel and the Central City. And so we need to bring all the districts together, bring everybody together and have a quarterly meeting. And that's what I do. Bring everybody together.
Okay. We're just coming back this way. So Ms. Kaplan.
District B is an incredibly diverse district, and I think that can be its great strength. So there's, vibrant residential neighborhoods, Central City, Gerttown, Broadmoor, the Irish Channel, and that's just to name a few. But there's also, of course, the Central Business District, the new hospital, the Warehouse District, and then also thriving quarters of small business, Ferret, Magazine Street, and some of the very exciting things that have been going on at Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard. And I believe if we look at that as the big picture and figure out, well, how can we create B that are part of my platform, including recreational centers, ensuring that we are continuing to expand summer youth employment, vocational programs, reentry. But beyond that, it's also about thinking through or working in City Hall to support small businesses.
Few more seconds.
Few more seconds. But then also with the larger development projects like the new hospital, incentivizing local hires, fostering partnerships between the schools so that we can have vocational training and that we can make sure that we're not just seeing economic growth and economic development, but it's equitable and we're making sure that we're meeting our GDP goals and that all residents are getting a benefit from that growth.
Okay, Mr. Strachan, your vision for this district.
I was born and raised in the Lower Garden District, and coming up there in the 80s, we really saw a different neighborhood than what we have now. And Carol, you alluded to the past of this district, and seeing the changes that have happened in my neighborhood go from, haven of drug use, violent crime, the bridge ramp being there led to blight, and it led to a lot of dysfunction. And now it's thriving. It's doing great. And I think if you look back on the history of this entire district, but particularly along historic Dryad Street or Kaplan, that was a thriving commercial corridor. And it was African American and Irish and German and Jewish all together, integrated, people working together, living next to each other, all working in cooperation with each other. So I think that serves as an excellent example to move forward. That we can have different demographics living in the same place, working together, and have a vibrant and prosperous area. Thank you.
I envision a district that is focused on all ages, a holistic and comprehensive approach where our residents, regardless of where they live in the district, have immediate access to quality education, to quality housing, affordable housing, get this blight out of here, get these slumlords out of here, access to affordable health care and quality health care. Jobs, of course, are essential to that, workforce development, training, life skills, programs that meet the needs of all of our residents, regardless of where they are, so we can build them up and they can have a productive life. Recreation, arts, culture has to be tied into that. And I say that because that's been my work on the ground. Creating an education corridor in my community where the library community center is tied to a community school, which is also tied to a health clinic, and also a fine arts wellness center that's, these things are open to the community until 9 o'clock at night. And making sure that those resources are tied to ensure that these programs are sustainable. So I envision a diverse community as the district is, both racially as well as socio-economically. My record is tied to it. I've delivered results on the ground, and I'm not only just talking it, but I've done it. And I want to transfer my experience throughout the entire district B, and I know that I can.
Okay, we have more questions.
Good evening. First, I want to thank all the candidates for coming here tonight because this gives us a real opportunity to express what we really want you guys to know and convey how it is living in District B. So I really want to thank you guys for coming tonight. My question is actually kind of twofold. One is, in representing a diverse group that's trying to come together to make in trying to address the membership is diverse, what I would like to ask the candidates is there a way to really invest in this part of Central City? I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure repairs, a lot of lighting issues, streets. It's like this is a forgotten area of Central City that really needs the city to help it come back, come along, and be a part of the wealth that's growing up around it from Aretha Castle. And that's what I think a lot of residents want to see from our district council members.
Okay, let's start with Ms. Kaplan. Question.
Yes, absolutely. I know that I've heard from residents, yourself included, but across the board, that the infrastructure challenges challenge. A lot of the young people and my youth organization come from Central City, so it's certainly something that I've heard consistently. And, you know, I know that there's, and people speak about the fact that Keller Center is not yet open. There's a number of concerns in Central City that need to be improved. So, yes, as a council member, I believe that there should be a commitment to investing in the infrastructure of District B as a whole, but certainly Central City needs to be a priority in that it is unfortunately plagued by one of the higher crime rates in the district, but also has some of the greatest cultural riches and some incredible assets. Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard is certainly one embodiment of it, and there's exciting things there, but the culture of Central City as a whole and supporting the cultural economy that is coming out of Central City is a way to use the assets, but also ensure that the council is giving commitment to the basic infrastructure needs that need to be prioritized. Lighting, potholes, just the quality of life issues that every resident of the neighborhood deserves.
All right, Mr. Strachan?
Yes, I think that whoever the council person is has to invest a lot of their effort and energy in Central City, in Hoffman Triangle, and in Dirttown. Because I think that a council person in many ways is judged on how they provide for their neediest residents, not necessarily their most well-off residents. So for Cornelius, I think that there has to be a double commitment to areas that are lacking in resources. You know, drive through Central City, to be honest, you're more likely to see a streetlight that's not functioning there than in Lakeview or in Uptown. And I think we have to be dogged in our or single-minded in addressing these problems and just keep at them until we get them underhand. I really, in my heart, I believe that Central City has probably the most potential of any area in the city right now, because of its location, because of its people, because of its history, and I think it's a great asset, and we have to work to improve it and make it even better. Thank you.
The infrastructure you spoke about and just the overall quality of life, I tell you, when I walk Central City, and I lived in Central City for 9 years before moving to the Broadmoor community. And when I walk the district and I see pre-Katrina light that existed, you know, in the community when I was there from 91 to 2000, I have a problem with that. And so there's an immediate need to address not only the issues that plagued us before Katrina, but also within the section of Central City that got wet. So we're dealing with, of course, flooded properties, blighted and overgrown lots. We're dealing with also around the Hoffman area, and particularly, we have 81 properties that were on the VA site that are now home to Central City, and that are also drug infested. It's a problem. So a priority for me is definitely around the housing infrastructure, and also properties that are occupied. There are a lot of our properties that do not meet the minimum housing standards, and our families are living there. That is unacceptable. Code enforcement needs to happen on every level, and that's something that I will push for. That's something that I push for now in the community that I represent and was elected to. And so I'm asking to be elected as your councilwoman so I can represent the district as a whole and deal with these quality of life issues that will change the mindsets and behavior that forces our communities to suffer from crime and violence. And so I feel you, street lighting, absolutely, making sure that those resources are there, but that the administration is held accountable to meet your daily need.
Okay, Mr. Horton.
Yes, listen, to answer your question, yes. We sit here and throughout this whole campaign trail, we talk about economic development. But the key to that is you have to make sure you have the right business in the right area. We can't just keep trying to say we want economic development. Okay, what do you want to develop? Okay, the economic, that's our money. So we have to make sure we have the right business in the right community. You know, just because they're giving the city a whole lot of money, that don't mean we can say, oh yes, well let's go clear these people out and build here. No, we have to make something that this community can feed on, right? And I say when we get something like that, then there's more money in that community, and that community can fix its own lights. Okay, and that's what you want. You want the community to be able to sustain and survive on its own at time. All right. So yes, uptown. I've been uptown, still uptown, and I see the upcoming of it. Their school is a part of it. You know, so to answer your question, yes.
Okay, we have at least one more question from the community. We're asking our candidates to keep their answers short, and ask you to keep your questions shorter. Mr. Michael Ingram was going to be next.
We had a question from Marlon.
Okay.
Lately, there's been a lot of publicity about crimes that have happened with people that have been wearing ankle bracelets. And so my question is, how can you ensure that that system works better, but at the same time, not burden other law-abiding systems with that, or make it more onerous for the people at home?
Okay, start with Mr. Strachan.
Yes, to clarify, that's a program where if you, particularly youth, if you were arrested but it's not for a violent crime, they'll put a monitoring bracelet around your ankle which will send a signal to show your location. And you're allowed to go from your home to school or within a certain geographical area. But if you go outside of that radius, or if you're outside at the wrong time, like say 2 o'clock in the morning when you're not supposed to be at school, then it sends a signal to the sheriff's office, which then notifies the police that they need to be aware of that this person is outside of their range. So, most recently there's been a shooting that involved 3 youths, one of whom was wearing the monitoring bracelet. And it turns out that the monitoring bracelet was correctly sending the signal to the sheriff's office, but that the signal, or that message was not being transmitted to the police after that. So, you know, I'm very proud of my experience working in the at-large office with Jackie Clarkson and Stacy Head's chief of staff, and working with them and being at the table with them. I've seen council members ask tough questions, and one of those really tough questions we have to ask right now is, who dropped the ball on this? Why was there a mistake happening here? Can we maybe cut out the sheriff's office, as, you know, have the monitoring companies send the signal straight to the police department when somebody goes outside of range? And if the person in charge was asleep at the switch, you know, do we need to replace them? Do they need to be moved out there? So, thank you.
Ms. Cantrell, you have a response to this question?
I believe it's with accountability as well as sufficient funding for the program to ensure that it is effective on the ground. The response time or the lack of response that was mentioned by Eric is totally unacceptable. And we see these things happening and unfolding literally daily. I was with a youth 2 days ago who had missed her time, right, hanging out, was running back home, was out of her boundary, and nothing happened. No response at all. And I was with her. And so, and making sure, get home, you know, go back to go, you know. And that's something that we have to ensure that is properly monitored as well as enforced, and working with our families and our youth so they understand that the importance of it, and those wraparound services that also need to be there to complement the bracelets.
The program needs to be analyzed. The truth is, some of these kids, they get the ankle bracelets because they did good time, right, or overcrowding, okay? At that particular time, we don't know if that child is going to go out and do a crime, right? What happened is they did good time in jail, and so we say, okay, well, we have some other ones who are worse off than you, okay? So we will give you that privilege to get the bag and leave, okay? Well, what happens is we need to reevaluate that whole system and that whole program, cool? Because, I mean, if somebody want to do something, they're going to do it anyway. And it's not on the actual people that's over that program, it's that criminal, right? So you have to really analyze the situation. And once you analyze the situation, find out what's working and what's not working, then you take further action on it. So that's what I do. I analyze it and then I move on.
And Ms. Kaplan.
So, of course, the issue of the electronic monitors has been in the news, and for good reason. But I will say that there is currently and has been an ongoing process that brings together all stakeholders of juvenile court, including the DAs, the sheriffs, the judges, the public defenders, community organizations, to make conduct such analysis and make make recommendations to the council and to the mayor regarding future funding determinations and modifications in programs. Now, one of the things that's clear from electronic monitor programs is that the most effective programs around the country are those that don't just utilize ankle bracelets alone, but also utilize ankle bracelets or electronic monitors in conjunction with that type of intensive supervision and wraparound services and some other type of services and resources to that child if that's what's appropriate and necessary. So certainly it does become a funding question of whether we as a city are willing to fund not just the ankle bracelets, but also willing to fund the additional programming and services and supervision and support, but accountability that comes with the electronic monitors. Now, that would be my first recommendation, but what has been happening and what's very good is that there's been data analysis done that the juvenile judges pull monthly and can analyze what in their programs or what is working and what isn't. How many young people are on a different, whether it's ankle bracelet or an alternative program or in addition, what is the rate that they're reoffending? What does the data actually show us? And what we need to do in terms of improving our juvenile and our criminal justice system is make our recommendations, whether it's funding or policy determinations, based off of the data, the facts, and what we actually know is going to work or not work. And, my experience has been in working to improve our criminal justice and our juvenile justice system, and I understand that it is very complicated systems, that we need to have a comprehensive strategy to address crime, because it's both about improving our electronic monitoring system, but also about improving reentry services, about improving school discipline practices, about improving victim services, the New Orleans Police Department. It's all of those, and it's being able to have a big picture and make our decisions based off of data and information collaboratively as to what works.
Okay.
I apologize, and I apologize to everybody because I go down on this, but.
Hold on, we have another race to get. We have another race to get to, so we want to be respectful of that.
I want to ask if any of you went up to coin when the students had a problem. That was one thing. But I want you to know the census says that young people 18 to 34 are working in this neighborhood. We have the lowest unemployment in that age group, and they're working in those restaurants. But the salaries that they make, do not be punitive and stop being punitive with our children when they have not been given a fair opportunity. It is not fair for you to, and what you have to understand is that Central City is valuable. Look at how the streets are laid out. Look how beautiful it is. This neighborhood is being gentrified, and we do understand that, and it's been going on for many years, 100 at least. Okay, so all I want you to know is that you really need to be productive. And when you talk about visualizing what should be for our community, I didn't hear anything that was terribly attractive to me. And when you speak of, I came to your office volunteer, I have to back up. It is not about criminal activities. It's about jobs, quality jobs that pay well. Young people are going down there, it's $34,000 a household. That means 2 or 3 people are working to make that $34,000, where other people is one person making 50. And that's what's going on in Central City. And I apologize.
Well, let's thank these candidates for City Council. We have had to cram in a lot of short amount of space. We thank you for your time. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we do not. We do have one more race that we want you all to consider. And it's the Criminal District Court Division D. And those candidates are Mr. Glenn Woods and Juvenile Court Judge Tracy Clemens DeVilliers. She told me that